They thought the golden retriever was begging for scraps. He was doing something entirely different, something none of them understood until the morning everything changed. It began at breakfast. Their golden retriever, an 8-year-old named Clover, had always been politely disinterested in the high chair. She knew the rules. She waited on her mat across the kitchen during mealtimes, and she had followed that routine for years without deviation. Then, one Thursday in October, she changed. Diane Okafor set her 14-month-old son Leo in the high chair at 7:45 a.m. as usual. Leo was fussy from a night of interrupted sleep, a mild cold that had been passing through the family for a week. She put soft banana pieces on his tray and went to pour her coffee. When she turned around, Clover was beside the high chair with her nose elevated toward Leo's face at approximately the level of his mouth. Not begging, not nuzzling, nose in the air, working slowly, reading something. Diane redirected her back to the mat. Clover went. By the time Diane sat down with her coffee, Clover had returned and was in the same position. Diane's husband Kwame came down and watched it for a moment. He laughed. She's finally figured out the high chair. She's after the banana. Diane watched the dog's nose. It wasn't moving toward the food on the tray. It was angled toward Leo's face, toward his breath. But she filed it under strange and moved on, because she had a sick toddler and a full day ahead of her, and Clover had never given them a reason to doubt her. The next morning, same thing. And the morning after that, every morning at breakfast, Clover stationed herself beside the high chair with her nose at Leo's mouth level, inhaling with the methodical quality of something that was measuring rather than seeking. When Leo cried, which he did, the cold lingering in his chest, Clover pressed closer. When the crying was harder, her nose moved faster. Diane started watching the dog the way she watched Leo. She found herself asking the question she didn't have an answer to. What are you reading? By the end of the first week, the cold had technically cleared. Leo's nose was running less. He was eating better. But Clover's position at the high chair had not changed. If anything, she had intensified. She was now following Leo from room to room after meals. She was stationing herself near his crib at nap time. She was not resting the way she usually rested. She was monitoring. Kwame noticed it too. He said, "She's been acting like this for a week. Do you think she knows something?" If you stay for stories about what animals know before we do, subscribe now. Because what happened the following Tuesday will change how you see every meal, every morning, every moment your dog positions itself near someone you love. Tuesday morning, Leo ate almost nothing. He was not crying, not obviously unwell, just quiet in the particular way that toddlers are quiet when their energy is oriented inward. He drank some milk and watched his banana pieces with mild disinterest and said no, which was currently his most productive word. Clover was beside the high chair from the moment Leo was lifted into it. She did not leave. She sat with her nose lifted toward his face and did not move when Diane reached across her. An hour after breakfast, Leo fell asleep in Diane's arms. He had been awake for only 90 minutes. She put him down for an early nap and went to fold laundry. Clover lay outside his door. At 10:22 in the morning, Clover began barking. Not the alert bark she used for the doorbell, a lower, harder sound that Diane had never heard from her in 8 years. She came from the laundry room running. Clover was at Leo's door, body pressed against it. Diane went in. Leo was awake. He was lying in the crib with his eyes open, and the color around his lips was wrong. Not dramatically wrong, not the gray that would announce a crisis. Just off. The particular off that a parent with medical training recognizes as a category rather than a description. Diane was a registered nurse. She had not worked in pediatrics specifically, but she had worked in emergency care for 6 years before Leo was born. She took Leo's temperature, 99.1, not high enough to explain what she was looking at. She called their pediatrician. The pediatrician heard her description and told her to come in now, not at the next available appointment. Now, Leo's blood glucose at the clinic registered at 33 milligrams per deciliter. His pediatrician, Dr. Amara Petrov, moved with the specific controlled speed of someone who had seen this number before and knew what it required. Within the hour, Leo was at the children's hospital. Within 2 hours, He was stable, and the endocrinology team was in the room. Has your dog ever barked or behaved in a way that felt entirely different from anything before? Tell us what happened. These stories deserve to be heard. The diagnosis that emerged over the following days was a rare form of congenital hyperinsulinism, a condition in which the pancreas produces excess insulin episodically, driving blood glucose to dangerous lows with minimal external warning. The cold 2 weeks prior had stressed Leo's system. The subsequent reduced eating had compounded it. The result was a blood sugar that had been falling slowly, invisibly, in the background of what looked like ordinary toddler recovery. Dr. Petrov told Diane and Kwame that dogs detect the volatile organic compounds produced by hypoglycemia in exhaled breath, isoprene, acetone, chemical signatures that change measurably as blood sugar drops, detectable by a dog's olfactory system at concentrations thousands of times below human sensory threshold. Clover had been reading Leo's breath every morning for 2 weeks. The compound she was detecting had been changing. When it crossed a threshold, she recognized as requiring action. She barked. Dr. Petrov looked at them and said simply, "She gave you the window." They were in the hospital for 4 days. Leo was discharged with a management plan, a continuous glucose monitor, and a dietary protocol. He was cheerful about all of it in the way that 14-month-olds are cheerful about things they cannot yet fully comprehend. Every guardian deserves to be seen, especially the ones who kept their post when no one understood why. If these stories matter to you, subscribe so you never miss the next one. Clover met them at the door. She went to Leo's carrier, lowered her head, pressed her nose to the side of his arm where the monitor sat, and inhaled once. Then she stepped back, sat, the precision of a job completed by the person who understood the assignment. Kwame stood in the doorway watching her and said nothing for a long time. What would you do if you realized you'd almost missed the one alarm in your house that was actually working?